They see me rolling, they're hating.
Hello, welcome to this quick vlog. This probably won't be quick, to be honest. I've got quite a lot to tell you. A lot of people have been asking me, how did you break your leg? And the last one of these was from my hospital bed in Brighton when I was on quite a lot of morphine and other stuff. And I referred to breaking my leg during a parlour game, which is true. So here it is. Here's the whole story of what happened. So I went to Brighton on the 15th of December, I think it was, to stay with my friends because most of my friends are down there, and we were having a Christmas party for everyone where we'd rented out the pub for the day with Christmas food, and then we were going to go back to my friend's flat and do Christmas stuff and drink and whatnot and be merry. So that was on the Saturday the 16th, the planned party. So on the 15th I went to Brighton. I went and met up with two of my friends, one of whom I was staying with, and we got a bit more drunk than we planned to. This is important. This is important to the overarching narrative. So I was up till like 3. I think they stayed up till like 5, drinking kind of rum and whiskey and shit like that. So the next day when it comes to the party, us 3 are feeling a bit ropey. So we go to the pub. We rented the pub from 1 onwards, so we had a room. And there's quite a lot of us. I mean, there's at least 20 of us, I think, in the pub, because we had the whole meal and stuff. And we did Secret Santa and whatnot. And I was not really feeling totally on it. So I was feeling a bit rough. I couldn't finish my my Christmas lunch, which is fucking weird when it comes to me and food. And at one point, I think one of the times I realised something was really wrong is when someone offered me an extra pick and blanket and I didn't take it, which is unheard of. So I didn't get that drunk. I was feeling a bit bleh. So that went on, and then eventually, of course, we got chucked out the pub because that was over, and we all mooched off back to my friend's flat, the one I was staying in, to have more drinks and just fuck about. So we did that, and what happened was someone decided, and it's only just occurred to me that I should blame that person for this. I don't really blame that person for this, but it would be quite funny. Someone decided that we should play the cereal box game. Now, some of you know what that is, no doubt. Others of you probably don't. So the cereal box game is where you take an empty cereal box, you place it on the floor, and then everybody in the room takes turns to bend over and pick it up using only their mouth, with their hands behind their back or out of the way, and their feet or a foot on the ground. Right? Once everyone in the room has bent over and picked up the box, you tear an inch off the top of the box, so it gets smaller. So it's therefore harder to do upon each round. So in the past, I'm going to use the past tense. I was very good at the cereal box game, and here's some footage of me playing. And actually, the box you see me lifting here isn't that big. That's not the full extent of how low it can go.
No, all right. Oh, that's so good.
Oh, hand on the bars, hand
Oh, man.
That's the right position, is the right...
Come on, Jackson. Come on, Jackson.
Oh my word.
Yeah.
Oh, you motherfucker.
This game on the 16th of December went on and on and on until it was myself and one other person left. The person in question, who knows who they are, can do the splits. So their method was to do the splits. The box had been destroyed. There was nothing left. So the gambit had been kind of raised to a piece of box this big with a pound coin on it. And you had to knock the bit of pound coin. Jesus. You had to knock the bit of pound coin out of the way, or maybe it's a £2 coin, whatever. You had to knock out the way off your nose and pick it up with your mouth. And myself and this other person did that successfully a number of times, I think. So what I did, lots of kind of, being film fans, the kind of Cronenberg body horror element has been throughout this process for the last few weeks and stuff. The moment I actually broke my leg, I still find quite hard to think about, but I'm going to do it anyway. So I was essentially bending over to pick up a bit of cereal box after having knocked a pound coin off it with my nose. That's how I broke my leg. How did you manage that? Well, what I did, my winning technique for the cereal box game, which you just seen in the other video, was, and I'll put a picture up here, a diagram, is to bend my left leg all the way, bend my head over, and my back leg is pointing out and basically not touching the ground. So if you imagine my entire weight is going through this leg, my lefty. So I'm doing that on one of my goes, because we'd reached kind of an impasse on the old cereal box game. I was doing that on one of my goes, and there was a loud snap. Now, the way I thought about it was, imagine if you were standing on a wooden pallet and the wood gave way and you suddenly go a bit lower and it's like, oh, that wood broke. When it happened, I went crack. Oh, I guess the floor just broke. And then I realised what had happened. There's probably about 10, 15 people in the room because it's essentially like a house party. And again, I wasn't even particularly drunk because I was hungover, so I'd been nursing a can of cider. So I was pretty sober when this happened. I realised what happened. I just turned around to the room and said, I've broken my leg. And I somehow turned over onto my arse. And then I was sat kind of like this, you know, on the floor. So the whole room had heard it go. Quite a lot of people were pissed. Again, I wasn't in particular. And what then happened was the leg kind of swole up and it got shorter. So I was on my arse on the floor with my legs bent, and this leg was shorter and immediately got swollen. So because I used to do first aid, I announced to the room that, hello everyone, I don't have, because you can go into shock and pass out, right? So I told everyone I don't have any allergies, I don't have any pre-existing medical conditions, I'm not on any medication. But my number one priority was, and this, the whole thing is all I can think of, my dad's got like a weak heart. And I didn't want anyone calling up my dad and saying, your son's in hospital, so I didn't want anything to happen to him. So I announced to the room also, whatever happens, don't tell my dad, because you know, I thought it might kill him, but whatever. Weird thing was, the leg snapped, femur snapped, and then it didn't hurt. Didn't hurt at all. Just went. It didn't hurt. And what we found out since is it's a spiral fracture, which is one of the worst fractures you can get. So it snapped. It didn't hurt, and I got on my arse. And what I knew myself was, it doesn't hurt now, but the pain is coming, and we're going to have to. We're going to wait for the pain to come, which it did, and the pain slowly kind of came in waves. Now I forgot a prop, so we're going to do a jump cut. So you might be saying to yourself, I don't know, it's unlikely, but if you're saying to yourself right now, Richard, which one's the femur? Well, I'll tell you. My mate here knows which one the femur is. It's this one. You see this big bastard here? It's the longest bone in the human body. It's the hardest to break, as strong as iron, apparently. That will come into play. Cheers, Brian. You'll get paid later. So, called for the ambulance. We had to wait a while because it was the busiest weekend of the year for the emergency services, and I was in Brighton, which is a big place. I think in Cambridge I would have got seen sooner, but I wasn't. So we had to wait for quite a while, and bless my friends, they all kind of rallied around me. But they're amazing. My friends are really fucking great, and they all sat around me and stuff. And I had, you know, someone to hold my hand at one point and squeeze, because like when the pain was coming, we had paracetamol and ibuprofen on hand. So I was taking that. So we waited and waited, and one of my mates turned to me during this. He just kind of goes, "Jackson, do you want me to put on Star Trek?" And I was like, Nah, that's all right. And they were like, you sure? It might make you feel better. And I was like, no, I'm all right. But then my other mate walked in, the guy around the flat, and he goes like, Jackson, do you want us to put on Star Trek? And I was like, you know what, if two people have said that, then yeah, let's put some Star Trek on. So turned the lights off and got Netflix up, and they said, what do you want? And I said, I want the original series episode, The Balance of Terror, which is one of my favourites. So we put on The Balance of Terror, and waited for the ambulance. And during the episode of Star Trek, it was despite the immense pain and everything and trauma, that was the time where I felt the most serene. I felt briefly normal. Because during this period, we didn't know what had happened in my leg. I had to have my leg supported at all different times, so they were taking shifts to hold my foot so it would stop the pain and just sort of being there and stuff. So eventually the ambulance gets there, and these two paramedics arrive, and I really fondly hope they watched this video, because they were fucking great, and they were a great laugh. So what happened then was they came and gave me the first of many cannulas, and gave me morphine. Then they also gave me gas and air, which I think is basically like nitrous oxide. So I was immediately really fucking high. So morphine dulls the pain, and nitrous oxide's kind of a dissociative drug, you know, so you're kind of a bit out of it, you're not really there. And, you know, still a lot of pain and stuff. What happened was when I was under the influence of these things, I was really high and I started cracking jokes and shit. And I think I was just like bodging the punchlines and stuff like that and just being really awkward. And I kept like trying to engage them about Star Trek and stuff. I'm told it was quite funny, buggered if I know. And I remember when we got out to the ambulance, so they had to take me out to the ambulance, which was fucking horribly painful. They had to get me outside because my mate, I should have said, lives on like the 3rd floor in a block of flats. So they had to get me in the lift in a chair and stuff, which meant lifting me up, which was incredibly painful. Got me outside and I started to come down a bit because I ran out of gas and air. And they were taking me to A&E. And I said to one of the ambulance people, I used to work in A&E. It was really weird because they had to cordon the whole sector off for terror attacks because it was around the time of 9/11. And this paramedic, she goes to me, why do you keep talking about 9/11? And I was like, what? And she goes like, that's like the 4th time you've mentioned 9/11. And I didn't remember, but apparently when I was really high, I just kept going on about 9/11. And I turned to one of my mates, one of my friends came in with the ambulance and came to hospital. And he was like, yeah, you kept going on about 9/11. So, you know, that's a thing. Got to the hospital, got to A&E, and this was like quite early on. So it was probably about 5 in the morning by the time I got to A&E. And I was sat in kind of triage for ages. A&E's like the ER if you're American. I don't know about your regional alternatives to that, but you know, the emergency room, whatever. A&E, accident emergency. And they pushed me through to go for an X-ray, right? And they just know it's broken. They don't know what's wrong with it. So they take me through to an X-ray. So I'm 6 foot, for context. I normally weigh anywhere between 13 and 14 stone. Christmas, so probably about 14 stone. I was definitely at like fat bastard weight around then. And they wheel me through to the X-ray room, and there's one X-ray guy who, bless him, right, really sweet guy, just trying to do his job, was probably about 25 years old, 11 stone, 5'6". And he was like, yeah, well, I'm just going to roll you onto there so we can take the X-ray. And I was like, pardon me? And he's like, I'm just going to roll you onto that bed so we can take the X-ray. And I was like, this leg is fucked. The slightest bit of movement in this leg causes me unbelievable agony. Worst pain in my life, by the way. 10 out of 10 on the scale. This is the worst thing I've ever done. Never broken a bone before. I've been quite lucky. Had my appendix out, stuff like that. This is the worst pain ever I've ever experienced. Could get worse. You know, there's still some more left to go. And he was trying to roll me onto this thing, and he gave it one go, and I swear to God, I nearly blacked out because of the pain. This fucking tiny guy, and I was just like, dude, no. So they ended up drugging me some more, and I think I quite annoyed that doctor because I just kept kind of yapping. So after the X-ray, turns out I've got a spiral fracture, which is where it kind of twists. And I'll put that on screen now because I've got it. So there's a CT scan. It's fucking gnarly. You see that 3D rotation? Blah. So yeah, they're like, dude, you spiral fractured your leg. And I was like, okay. And they were like, that's really, really hard to do. Like, are you sure you're not sick? And I was like, no. And then he started... Unbeknownst to him, I know what the cancer questions are, and he was asking me the cancer questions, like, do you have blood in your stools, blood in your urine? Have you lost a lot of weight suddenly? I think it's something about waking up in sweats and stuff like that. And I was like, mate, those are the cancer questions. And he was like, well, you shouldn't be able to break a leg like that, the way you described. Considering how I did it, I don't think I explained it very well. They thought I was like playing Twister or something, so they all suddenly thought I had cancer. So I had to have loads of blood tests and stuff like that. And the upshot turned out I didn't have cancer. So I had to spend a day in A&E waiting to go up to a ward. And then here are some pictures. Here's a nice montage of pictures of the whole thing. Look away if you don't like squeamish hospital stuff. So I was in this bed in A&E, and I got a real desperate need to piss, like crazy, really needed to piss. And the thing is, if you've ever tried to piss lying on your back with something causing you immense pain every time you move, it's really fucking difficult because they give you those cardboard sort of like gourd things to piss in, right? I believe pooing as well. No, maybe that's a kidney dish. But we didn't go to Poo Town, luckily. So they're still giving me drugs, and I just can't piss. And I've got this bladder full of piss, and I cannot piss. And some of you who've watched my old vlogs might know where this is going. Because I did a whole vlog more or less dedicated to having a catheter inserted whilst I was asleep during surgery. So this is kind of the unintentional sequel to that, really. I tried to go, and it got to a point where I could not go, and I had to voluntarily have a catheter put in. So yeah, a stranger shoved a pipe up my cock, which was interesting, or I suppose down my cock, considering the way I was seated. But you know, it's kind of up once you're in another position. Anyway, so I called for a catheter to come, and just so happened the 90-year-old lady in the bed next door was having one put in at the same time. So it's very convenient for the people using the urethra pipe trolley. Saved them a lot of time. So we were having like this little race to see who could get catheterized quickest. So this very nice, very capable nurse had my penis in his hand and was cleaning it with a wet wipe whilst explaining what was kind of going on. So if you're not into hearing about this, tune out now. Big fucking syringe full of anaesthetic, a frightening amount of liquid, all the way down the dick, whole thing, and then the pipe is to follow. And he goes to me, there might be a bit of discomfort or pain when it passes your prostate. Which is a good phrase. I didn't realise it was going to pass my prostate or go through my prostate, I can't remember. And I was like, well, which is it, discomfort or pain? And he said to me, well, I don't know, I've never had it done. And I kind of immediately went to myself, well, that's like when you find out the chef in the restaurant hasn't tasted his own food, isn't it? Like, can I trust him to do this? But then sanity took over, and it's like, you know what? In nursing school, on the day they do catheters, I don't think they say, yeah, turn to your body and shove a pipe up him. Don't think that's how it works. So that was that. So, I mean, once it was in, automatic peeing for the best part of a week. Because, oh yeah, I was in hospital for a fucking week. And as those of you who watched the last one probably know, my birthday was on the 19th of December. So I was in hospital over my birthday. What I haven't realised before is when something like this is to happen in the last 2 weeks of December, that will destroy my birthday, my Christmas, and my New Year. So the whole thing just got bulldozed through. So, got my catheter, got moved up to the ward, got my room. I got put in traction, which is where they strap up your leg and they pull it straight to deal with the pain. And I get told what's going to happen, so I'm referred to orthopaedics. Now, if you're ever worried, if you ever feel old, and you want to be made to feel young, I suggest getting admitted to an orthopaedics ward when you're 34. I was 34 when I went in, I was 35 when I left. But when you go on an orthopaedics ward in your 30s, people keep saying that you're young and fit because everyone else on the fucking orthopaedics ward is like 90 or 100. So you're suddenly sort of like the baby on the ward, even though you're bald. Well, like a baby, I suppose. So they tell me what's going to happen. So they're going to make an incision in my knee, an incision on the top of my thigh, and one in the side of my knees, and they're going to use like a laparoscopic camera, and they're going to insert a large metal nail inside the hollow of my bone, so that it must be a good fucking, what is that? It's probably like a foot, my femur. Like it's a big nail up inside the hollow, through the hole in my knee, up into the hollow of my bone to get the bone back into shape, and then they drill in and put screws in. So here's the X-rays of that. You can see some X-rays of the bone. So that's what they did. So on the Monday after that, so I went in Sunday morning, Monday night, they surgeryed me up. And this thing is so robust that you can stand on it. So like I went to sleep that night and they woke me up the next day and stood me up. So there's no cast, there's no cage, it's just some stitches and I'm walking about on it. Not very well on crutches, but I'm walking about on it like straight away. So I was then in hospital for basically another week. I was there from Sunday to Sunday, I think. One of my friends, God bless him, came from London to come get me. Whilst I was inside, I had loads of visits from my mates that live in Brighton, which is great. And I also had Mikey, who has a YouTube channel, and Sam, a YouTube channel. They're both kind of Sussex-based. They came and saw me. So there's like a little kind of YouTube triage. That was kind of lovely. That was really nice. Come and saw me. I got bought presents and stuff. One of my friends framed the bits of cereal box and brought them to me, so they're by my bed the whole time. And I got bought a McDonald's and some balloons on my birthday, which arrived just as they were putting the pipe out my dick, actually. But there you go. Yeah, which was fucking great. Like, everyone was really, really cool. So I got brought home to my parents' house, and that was, so it's after my birthday, maybe like the 22nd of December, just before Christmas. And I spent a month at my mum and dad's because I couldn't look after myself, and things are a lot better now. I just saw the physio yesterday and things are looking really good, but I couldn't look after myself. I couldn't prepare food and then move it from room to room, stuff like that. So, I could like wipe my ass and stuff, but and shower with like a seat, but it would take forever. So I've been with my mum and dad for a month. I'm popping back here to do some bits and editing our shows and shit like that. Keeping busy. Yeah, I want to dance with somebody. I want to feel the heat. I've also had, occupational therapy, trying to get my independence back through various ways and means, and having fun in supermarkets. That's been one of my big things, really. So that's kind of it. So I'm having physiotherapy to get it all sorted. It happened in a stupid way, and that's sort of what I wanted to tell you, really. So I did quite a severe injury in quite a dumb way. So the full recovery from this injury is 6 months. So I did it in the middle of December, and the kind of complete recovery is projected for the middle of June. I'm down to one crutch. Very positive stuff from the physio yesterday, and I'm going to be going week by week back there. They've said I can get on an exercise bike now, which is good, and the general kind of prognosis is good. There was some kind of question about whether I had weak bones or not, but they've done the tests and I don't. And I could have told them that because I'm quite active, so I like lift weights and I cycle and I run, I walk and I climb and shit like that. And I've had loads of knocks over the years, and my theory is that I've softened something up there. I don't know. Whatever happened, but I twisted on it, whatever. So that's all good. And in June, I got tickets for Glastonbury in June, so I need to be better by then. And also, every year I do the London to Brighton bike ride. So that's 58 miles, I think, from Clapham Common to Brighton. And I do it every year. I've missed it once or twice because of stag do's and things like that. But I always do it. And my aim is to do that again this year, not miss it. Do it on the 16th of June. And then the week after that, there's the Solstice Sunride, which is an overnight bike ride, or a mini rave in Cambridge. And then I go to Glastonbury after that. So I've got targets to get fit for. And I love cycling. I just bought a new bike before this happened, and I really, really, really want to get back on my bike. But one day at a time, got to be slow. Can't be an idiot. So that's it. We're sorting it out. I'm getting better. I've got lots of physio to do every day. I'm getting back on the exercise bikes this week because I've been given the go-ahead for that, so I can start building things back up again. And that's it. Short version, TLDR, Richard broke his leg doing something fucking dumb. And wasn't even drunk. Any questions, AMA, pop them in the comments. I hope that cleared everything up. Some of you may have heard bits of this already, but I hope you enjoyed this. It was long and rambling, and 25 minutes. Jesus Christ, you poor bastards. Well, anyway, that's it. Good stuff, and I'll see you all next time on the next thing, what we do on Valverde Broadcasting.
Support your 7th or 8th favourite YouTube channel by buying crap, tat, junk, hogwash and filth at redbubble.com/people/Valverde shop.